European anticipation over the outcome of Germany's federal election on September 22nd is high. Angela Merkel, the incumbent chancellor, is up for re-election, and given Germany's central role in the handling of the Eurozone crisis so far, another term under her leadership is unlikely to see a significant change in stance. This may be good for German voters, but others will worry. I'm Corley Zacchino, and here to tell us more is Martin Koehring, Europanelist. Martin, to what extent will voter appetite for change influence the results, and what are the main threats to Angela Merkel's re-election?
Well, I would say there's not really that much of a mood for change in Germany. I mean, Angela Merkel is seen as a successful crisis manager. She steered Germany through the troubles of the global financial crisis and the Eurozone debt crisis. And her pragmatic, step-by-step approach is very much appreciated by many Germans. But then there are still threats to her re-election. I mean, first of all, if we look at the Free Democrats, her coalition partner, I mean, Angela Merkel obviously heads the Christian Democrats, and they are way ahead in the opinion polls, around 40% or so. But the Free Democrats are hovering around 5%, and 5% is also the limit, the threshold for parties to enter the Bundestag. So if they fall below that limit, they will not enter the Bundestag. So Merkel will not have a coalition partner, unless, of course, she joins forces with the Social Democrats, her main rivals, or the Greens, but that's very unlikely to happen. There's another threat, which is the Alternative for Germany, which is a new Eurosceptic party. They are unlikely to get the 5% threshold to enter parliament, but nonetheless, they take votes away from the Christian Democrats and the Free Democrats. So that's another major threat. And also there's political apathy in Germany. It's very unclear how many people actually vote. Depending on the opinion polls, 20 to 40% are still undecided. So there might be last-minute voters who just change their opinion last minute, really. But overall, we think that the odds are evenly split between the possibility of Angela Merkel renewing her coalition with the Free Democrats and forming a new grand coalition with the Social Democrats.
What are the pressures that Ms. Merkel is likely to face at the time of forming a new government, and what are the main domestic challenges?
Well, I would say there are political and policy challenges that she's facing. First of all, in terms of political challenges, she may get a majority in the lower house of parliament, the Bundestag, but she's still lacking a majority in the Bundesrat, which is the upper house of parliament, which represents the Länder, the German states, and it's a consultative body, but it's still important and can delay legislation. So it's very important legislative body, and she lacks a majority there, regardless of what coalition she will form, because the SPD, the Social Democrats, and the Greens have a majority in the Bundesrat. So that might be a major political challenge. Of course, if she does form a coalition with the Social Democrats, it may make it easier to get agreement from the Bundesrat. But if she renews a coalition with the Free Democrats, then that might be a major obstacle. And the other challenges are policy challenges, of course. The population is aging, the income gap is widening in Germany. Then you have productivity falling, poverty among pensioners, and above all, the manufacturing sector, the most important part of the German economy, also faces major challenges, for example, because of lower demand from emerging markets, particularly from China, which is changing its economic model from investment-driven growth to consumption growth. And Germany, of course, is an exporter of capital goods, and if the emerging markets are slowing, if there's less demand for capital goods, then the manufacturing sector will also suffer in Germany. But there hasn't been much in terms of policy vision in Angela Merkel's plans, so there might be major challenges ahead for her.
What are investors most concerned about as Europe awaits the election outcome, and how is the economy expected to perform?
I think the investors will be quite concerned about Angela Merkel's economic policy agenda because of all these challenges that I just mentioned. For example, the manufacturing sector challenges and income inequality and poverty among pensioners and so on. So all these challenges, how will she manage them? And it seems that she will continue to focus on fiscal consolidation. So there will not be much in terms of stimulus for the whole Eurozone. I mean, the Economist Intelligence Unit expects Germany to grow by around 0.5% this year, which is clearly above the Eurozone average, where we expect the contraction. And also in terms of 2014 to 17, we expect the German economy to outperform the Eurozone. We expect average growth of 1.3%, which is also above the Eurozone average slightly. But there could be so much more that Germany could be doing. But because of their fiscal rules, they also have a very kind of tightening stance in the fiscal policy arena. So there's not much that Germany will do in terms of investment. I mean, Merkel is a crisis manager, as I said earlier, rather than a policy innovator. So she might not come up with investment plans. I mean, she reacted, for example, to the Japan nuclear disaster by announcing these huge plans for renewable energy drive in Germany. But there has been major delays in terms of investment into that arena, and also in other areas Germany is reluctant to invest, even though they could, because they're record low borrowing costs, but Germany is unwilling to do that. So Germany will not really provide a major stimulus as much as Germany could for the rest of the Eurozone.
Let's take a closer look at the regional implications of Ms. Merkel's re-election. Is it too optimistic to expect greater flexibility from Germany in this context, or will it be more of the same?
There's likely to be more of the same, because Angela Merkel has been quite successful in convincing German voters that her pragmatic, step-by-step, piecemeal approach is the way forward to deal with the Eurozone crisis. Whether that will be true, we'll see in the future. But this kind of slow approach is very much preferred by German voters. So she will keep this kind of fiscal consolidation agenda for the Eurozone and structural reform drive as well. But if we look at the next government term, and it's likely that she will be re-elected either with the Free Democrats or with the Social Democrats as her partner, there are major constraints as well on her flexibility, because first of all, there are legal constraints, because there's a powerful constitutional court in Germany, so that constrains her flexibility in terms of Eurozone policy, because the constitutional court is reluctant to give more power away from the German parliament, which represents the sovereign, the German people. And the second constraint is political as well, because German voters do not really want to take on any liabilities for debt in southern European countries, including banking debt. And Angela Merkel has been quite clear in trying to avoid any kind of liabilities for German taxpayers. Also because it's a question of justice. In Germany, there's very much a perception that Germans don't have much household wealth, in contrast to many people in Southern Europe, where lots of households have a second home, for example. But in Germany, lots of people rent. There's less housing wealth, so there's less household wealth. So putting up with debt in those countries is very much a question of justice or injustice. So that will be a major political constraint as well on being more flexible in terms of policy in the Eurozone.
Thank you, Martin. For more in-depth analysis on Germany, please visit our website at www.eiu.com. Thank you, and goodbye.